Well, nobody ever put it quite like that before. So you get points for that. I mean, they put it many ways, but not like that. I don't think the last word has been said on this subject. In Science News last week or the week before, there are 120 anatomical differences between the brains of men and women that are not genital related. I think that we're on the brink of a whole frontier of discovering who and what women are. They were just thought to be, soft boys up until fairly recently, and the most enthusiastic proponents of feminism, I think, don't understand how deep a subject they've grabbed onto. In a way, I would sort of plead guilty to your metaphor that I do sort of see women as out of history. They are ahistorical creatures, and men invented history, lost themselves in it, and femininity, if you want to call it that, Gaian consciousness, if you want to call it that, psychedelic spirituality, if you want to call it that, is beckoning, does sort of hold the high ground, and is drawing history back toward a feminizing, archaic mode. But, race is a phenomenon of groups of people. In a sense, so is femininity. As an individual, you have to deal with the cards you're dealt, and we all have a feminine, a masculine, an androgynous, so forth and so on, component in our psyche. But in a sense, I guess I'm a conservative because I don't see history doing anything other than recapturing what once was, and which once was definitely under the aegis of the feminine. Like, for instance, the World Wide Web, this vast technological artifact that's being put in place. All it is a hard wiring of female intuition. It's the engineering mentality is catching up with the feminine outlook. But your question disquiets me. I'm not sure. Again, it's important as an individual not to identify with the characteristics of a group. And it's very tricky because you're constantly dinned into thinking of yourself as black, gay, white, poor. But those are not really qualities of individuals. Individuals are more complex than that. I mean, you may have a gay component. You may have a black portion of your genetic heritage. But don't define yourself as a group. That's a trick that was launched by print in the act of creating this peculiar entity called the public. The public is a fiction of the print-created galaxy. You are not a citizen and you are not part of the public unless you seriously do damage to your humanness in order to fit yourself into such a narrow definition. Yeah.
The chemicals act on the brain. Females have this huge hormonal swing in waves. I find that I have certain experiences during certain times of the month that I would consider hallucinogenic. And it's a mystery to me about women and men. There is a difference just in the chemistry of the body. So maybe there is really not an up or down to it. Somebody's ahead and somebody's behind. It's just a difference to it.
Well, we can talk about this, but since this is a room full of aspiring professionals, this is obviously an area where incredibly good work could be done using ordinary scientific sampling techniques. You probably know it's a scandal how much medical research is done on male human subjects and then extrapolated to all human subjects. I would be willing to bet you, just sitting here, that in 30 years of research on psychedelics, there has never been a study which attempted to differentiate the difference in the response of men and women to the substance. It's like step one, but it's never been done. Again, you know, how does menstruation affect this? How does menopause affect this? How does the postpartum chemistry affect? These are easily answered scientific questions that have never been looked at because of gender bias in the scientific establishment. Yeah.
From the just it's kind of like that. Psilocybin is a counter to testosterone.
That's a way of putting it.
That drive, that aggressive drive, or that drive that they testosterone has is perhaps why men are affected more by it.
Oh, well, that's a very straightforward theory. If psychedelics inhibit and compete with testosterone, obviously their impact on men is going to be much more profound than their impact on women. Right there, you have a hypothesis. You could.
Has there been any research on that, or have they actually has anyone looked at the endocrine system and the hormonal effects that psilocybin has on changing the body chemistry that actually drives your body?
No. The amount of research, you know, the first psilocybin project is underway now, the first one in 30 years, and they're just trying to define the basic pharmacodynamics of the substance. They haven't looked at this stuff. I should say to you, you know, I'm urging you aspiring young professionals into these fields. Let me caution. That's because I'm an enthusiast and I want to know the answers to these questions. Professionally, it's a life of hell. You will not be promoted. Your colleagues will look upon you as a freak. You will find yourself, you know, my brother can talk to this point. It's not a pleasant thing to associate yourself with psychedelics professionally. Yeah.
I guess something that I feel like we need to take responsibility for is the use of what is words like profound and transformative, because what is profound and transformative for a male, if it's more profound for a male, it might be just a different profound and transformative that's not on the male scale of what is profound and transformative. And I think that it's irresponsible to say that it is more profound for males, especially when no research has been done on the way in which these drugs affect.
Well, I guess what I meant by more profound is that I think the average male is set down further from where he started than the average female is at the conclusion of a psychedelic experience. One of the things, let me mention this as long as we're on this subject, this is just throwing this out, but one of the things that's always fascinated me is the difference between male and female orgasm, and how male orgasm, here's a place where it seems to be reversed. Male orgasm seems to lie fairly close to the surface and be a fairly unspectacular event most of the time. Why is the female sexual response so much more dramatic? And why is there an orgasmic response at all? In other words, many animals don't have such a response. You can build an urge, you can build a sexual urge into an organism without this payoff of immediate experiential fireworks. There are species of fish where the female lays the eggs and the male swims over them and releases the sperm, and that's sex in that species. I sense, and I've never been able to articulate it, that the DMT flash is very orgasmic in some sense. It's somewhat like a full-body orgasm, but it has components in it which are only encountered otherwise in orgasm. And I wonder what this orgasmic response is for, what evolutionary role it fulfills. It seems to emerge late in animal organization. This is not something you trace back to flatworms or something. It seems most intensified in the primates. And again, I have no answers, but I would bet when this is all teased apart, the chemistry of orgasm and the neurochemistry of orgasm and the chemistry of the DMT flash are going to be found to be at least cousins of each other in some sense.